Second youth.
But I couldn't do that because I was working on machinery in the pit and stuff like that, so they flung me out because of that. So. But I just went on and played with my bands after that.
Argus was a legendary band, mate. Give us something about Argus.
Argus was a band that we hardly ever rehearsed. It was more or less a jam band, but there were 3 voices in that as well, but quite good harmonies. But the thing for me in Argus was Arthur Owen, because he was a big influence on me when I was learning guitar. Me and Jim Wood used to go round to his house at 7:30 on Saturday mornings. And he was only probably just in the door about 10 minutes for the 8th ballroom or something. You know. Bring your guitar down and we would sit and watch him. You know, and just basically learn wee things here and there and not to it ourselves. You know, the process of learning. Arthur was a big influence on me.
So, what type of music were you playing then? Was it because I can remember you done quite a lot of club work when the kind of ballroom and that kind of dried up.
Chart stuff. The 60s, 70s chart stuff. The Hollies, strong on Hollies with harmonies and stuff like that. It was mostly. But we'd get into Cream as well. It was a bit of a mixture with the band. You never knew what was going to happen next, and neither did we. Like, what do you fancy playing now? It's a Cream number, like Sunshine of Your Love or something. And the next number, you'd be playing a Beatles number. Could have been anything, it didn't matter.
As a social convener of the Dockyard Club on the side, when you booked Argus, you never knew what the lineup was going to be, but they always turned up.
They're right.
Trevor, you can go back a wee bit further. I mean, you're a cornerstone of pop music in Dunfermline. Tell us something about your early life, because you actually started off not as a lead singer but as a sax player.
That's right. I met the original members of the Falcons at a dance, and I had written some songs, and I thought I would go along and ask them if they could actually put the music to it, record them. And during the course of that, the songs were no good. But during the course of that, they found out I played clarinet, and they actually asked me, "Do you play sax?" And I said, "Yes, of course." I didn't. But they wanted me to join playing sax, so I went out and bought a sax. And I was playing with them for about 6 months on the sax when the singer left. And we tried out, must have been 200 guys to be the new singer. And while we were doing that, I was going to Jimmy Bryce's house for him to learn new numbers. I was singing the numbers. And he suddenly said to me, "You try." So I went to the rehearsal where we were trying out singers, and I sang 2 numbers. And that was it, I was a singer. And that following Saturday, that was probably a Wednesday, the following Saturday I was playing at Cowdenbeath Pally, a full night. And I had about 4 numbers I knew. And that was it. So I sold the sax, bought a PA system, and that's been it ever since. Yeah.
The early days of the Falcons, what type of songs were you singing?
Purely pop, purely out of the top 20. We tried to keep up with the top 20 all the time. Yeah. We had a very big repertoire. I remember we could, back in those days, songs lasted 2 minutes or less, and we could do 4 hours without repeating. So we had a heck of a repertoire.
You took on a lot of residency. Did that cut down on the travelling?
Well, it did. We had the residency at the Kinema, but...
on Island Pally as well,
yeah.
Sticks into mind there.
Yeah.
They were...
But then we were, at that time, back in the early, we were playing 5-6 nights a week, every week. So we were doing a lot of travelling, from Peterhead down to the borders. You know, that was the sort of... At that time, I was an apprentice, and I remember regularly, at least 3 times a week, I'd be dropped off at the dockyard gates, straight from a gig, every week, and going to work. Yeah, no wonder they said I didn't do any work.
You spoke about the Kinema Ballroom there, because you actually were responsible for the band getting in the Kinema Ballroom initially, because you had 2 spells in the ballroom.
Initially, I would come to the ballroom on a Wednesday. It was the only night I had off, and I'd come there and sit for maybe an hour with the manager, trying to persuade him. And I did that for about 6 or 7 weeks. And in the end, he said to me, "Okay," because they didn't have groups at the weekends in those. So they only had the Red Hawks playing on a Wednesday. And in the end, he said, "Right, okay, I'll give you a contract for 6 weeks on a Saturday night, 1 hour, and if you're no good, that will be it." And that 6 weeks turned into 3 years nearly with that first slot Falcons. And and then the band changed slightly. We went to France, I think as Jimmy or as Bud said. Went to France. When we came back into the ballroom for a while, and then I left the band and I joined the Red Hawks. They asked me to join them. So I was with them for about a year.
Who, of course, was the number one resident
The
band
number
at
one
the time,
resident band, yeah. Like, great musicians, all of them. And then after about a year with them, there was some problems in the band. I left again, and I had my own band in Edinburgh for a year. And then after that spell in Edinburgh, Jimmy Bryce and the then singer with the Falcons, David Rimple, came to my house and asked me to come back to the band. So that was it. I came back to the band within 3 months. We were playing in the Belleville across the road, the Belleville Hotel, and the ballroom had a competition on, and one of the bands had let them down. So Cecil, the ballroom manager, came across to see us and said, "Can you come in and make the numbers up?" In a competition that was being judged by David Jacobs. And we came across and we won it. So the part of winning it was that we got a residency in the ballroom again.
Great.
That was it. Yeah.
Great. Now, the Kinema Ballroom for the whole of the 60s was jam-packed. Davey here not only played there as an artist, but actually went there as an oral punter and dancer as well. But it didn't last forever, did it? Because I can remember in the early 70s when the live bands kind of dried up, you formed another band.
Well, in actual,
Years.
well, I think what actually happened was that in '68, when we were back in the ballroom, and we were at the end of '68, we wanted to change the band. Members changed over, and we actually turned professional. And because this sounds funny now, because Jimmy Bryce and Jim Brown, the keyboard player, left, the lead guitarist, who was a bit of a comedian, said, "Oh, let's call the band the JB Memorial Fund, Jimmy Bryce, Jim Brown." And we said, "Oh, fund." So we dropped the word fund and we called it JB Memorial, and we turned pro for 2 years. And we travelled all over the country. That was a really good
band. Yeah.
That was the band that Bobby Ross was in on keyboards. Ronnie Lessels was actually playing bass then. I was singing, and the drummer of the second Falcons, Pete Hunter, was on drums. So it was just the four of us. And we toured the country. Really good band.
Like Davey, when Argus was on the go, Scope was on the go. Tell us about Scope. Scope, yeah, well, was a duo, and just before you start, Trev, as a pure enthusiast of music, it took me and showed me the other dimensions of other types of song they actually sang. Tell us about Scope.
Well, what happened there was that the JB had finally split. So for the first time in over 10 years, for 3 months I wasn't singing. And then I had somebody knocked on my door one night, and it was Doogie Wright. And he said he had this job in a pub, and he didn't fancy doing it himself. He'd got the job, but could I come along and do the job with him? And I thought, one guitar. So I borrowed a bass guitar, and we went along, and we did. What I didn't realise that he didn't have any numbers. And I sang every number that night, and he sat behind me playing the guitar and telling me what notes to play. And that was the start of it. We were actually then together for 10 years as Scope. To start with, it was Trev and Doug, and then we got Ronnie Lessels in on guitar for a little while, a year, and it was called TDR, Trev, Doug and Ronnie. When Ronnie left, we then called it Scope, and we carried on then until 1980. This was right the way through the 70s with Scope, and then at the end turned it back into a band, a four-piece band. We right at the end, we were doing lots of jobs. We were, again, 6 nights a week, sometimes 7, all over Scotland as a duo. And then when we turned it into a band, just before we'd done that, I'd entered 2 competitions as the duo. One was at Kelty Club, and the other one was a Tennant's Caledonian competition, talent competition. We did both of them as a 4-piece band in the end. We won the one at Kelty Club, and then we won We won the one at, that's a good film. Sinkers.
That's the agent.
Yes, we'll do the job next week. We won the one in the 10th Caledonian in Scotland, and the grand final was held in Mallorca, and we won that as well. So we went from being a duo to a four-piece, and we won the two competitions, and that was really something.
Yeah.
It's probably a highlight.
Just finally, Trev, you went and played the American Air Races.
Yeah.
And you got the chance to do the big thing. Any regrets about not being able to take that?
I think initially I was very disappointed, and I thought, oh, that's it, I've blown it. Looking back on it now, I think we probably wouldn't have made it in America anyway. I don't think we were good enough. We may have got there, but I honestly think that as I get older and I learn a little bit more about music, that we weren't good enough. We thought we were, but by God, we had some enjoyment.
And the 60s experience, Davey. What type of music are you doing in it?
60s thing, we're doing a lot of stuff like the Fortunes,
Polly's. Small Faces.
Aye, Small Faces is strong. Certain song suits my voice.
You're always one of
raunchy
the, a lot of Beatles stuff in it. You have a great
well, the
love
night,
for the Beatles.
the 8th of December, there we played for about an hour, non-stop Beatles numbers as a tribute to John Lennon.
John Lennon.
Yeah.
When we
We
done
didn't
the jam
realise
session.
we'd used so many Beatles numbers.
No.
We just went right through them one by one. And it was great. It all works. Yeah. We're lucky we've got three voices that sort of fit together. But there's a lot of
hard work goes into
there's
this,
a lot
by
of
the
work
way.
goes into it. Rehearsals are a nightmare for anybody else.
This is what nobody sees anyway, you know.
Aye.
We rehearse every Wednesday and we dissect numbers.
Aye.
We get it right down to individual notes, and then we put it all back together again. And sometimes I've seen us spend 7 weeks on one number.
Oh, yeah. Just to get it right. If it's not right, it's not getting played.
You've done a couple of albums, and I've been very impressed with the albums. Very well produced, very well put together. So do you see the band developing into a recording band eventually?
I think we're all too old for that, but the things that we've done, certainly you're right, they've actually exceeded my expectation for people buying them. We sell a 60s CD when we're doing the 60s experience, and that's gone down really well. We also have another CD that is just recorded live when we're doing the rock covers. A lot of it here at Sinkies for the jam session, and I just recorded them through the desk, and then put them together in the computer and produced the CD. And we've sold quite a lot. It's really nice, And people come up and say, "Oh, it's great to have something of the band," which we didn't do in the old days. Unfortunately, back in the days of the Falcons, when we were doing all those numbers, the facilities weren't there to record. Recording people were in studios. You didn't have those.
Yeah.
I did take a lot of reel-to-reel tape recordings of the band, which I've still got. But obviously the quality isn't such that you could put them out nowadays as a CD. It would be nice. It would be nice just for nostalgia.
Well, I want to wish you all the very best in the future.
Thank you very
But
much.
I really want to wish you that it all works out well for you. And thanks for the memories.
Great
Take care of you.
Thank you, Brian.
Trevor Foster, thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.